So I decided to title this presentation The Energy of Money, because to me, money is a storage vehicle for energy. We use money as an instrument to transfer our energy from one to another, and the instruments we use to exchange it can take on energy of their own, some positive and some negative. I see inconsistencies when I think in terms of earned and unearned energy. I look at things like lottery winnings, inheritance, excessive fees and taxes, where it seems like there's a disconnect between the energy that it takes to accumulate money and the energy it takes to spend it, sort of an imbalance in the universe. But I got to thinking about money in a philosophical way, which you'll notice by some of the quotes I want to share with you today. I saw this quote posted a few weeks ago. There are two kinds of people in the world, givers and takers. The takers may eat better, but the givers sleep better. It got me thinking about the types of people I come into contact with and the type of energy that they give off. I work as both a financial planner and a lender, so I have the opportunity to meet with people who have money and are looking to invest it to spend later, as well as people who need money in order to spend it now. So at a basic level, I can categorize people into a save first or spend first behavior. I have a white dry erase board in my office, and I spent about an hour or so the other day sketching out the following. I started by drawing a line across the board. I labeled it with $0. Above the line I put positive, and below the line I put negative. After that I added surplus and deficit, assets and liabilities. I looked at these thinking about the two types of customers I deal with and the products they typically need. Investments that receive interest and loans that pay interest. The thing is that I try and stay away from products because my financial planning firm is based on strategy and philosophy, not products. I have difficulty explaining this at times because I very often have people coming in looking for products. They have the terms and conditions of an investment or a loan already worked out in their head. And when I can't find the product that fits that description that they're looking for, they move on to the next seller of products. Why do they do it this way? Because most people operate as their own financial planner. And if someone chooses to hire me or anyone else as their financial planner, well, they have to fire their current planner. And a lot of people don't like to get fired. This used to be harder for me to deal with when I watched people save and spend in a manner that was contrary to what they claimed they wanted. But I saw this quote a few years ago, and it summed it up for me. People aren't against you, they're for themselves. So the planning models that I rely on are based more on strategy, and they can differ entirely based on who I'm working with. It's not a one-size-fits-all, it's a one-size-fits-one methodology. I try to help people determine the type of saver or spender they are, and I look at the patterns they historically exhibit before I recommend strategies or products. So here's one of the first things that I tell people. How do you get what you want? Well, you need to know what it is that you want. Because Aristotle said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. As a financial planner or a lender, the first thing I do is take a snapshot of your financial picture. I have to know first where to begin. More than that, I have to know where you want to go and what type of person you are before I can help in any manner to show you where to get there. Which brings me back to my whiteboard. So at the top of my model, I wrote the word abundance. And at the bottom, I wrote the word scarcity. This shows you the difference in the wording that can be used when putting together a financial plan, because it leads to different questions, answers, and ultimately different strategies. I go through a spending awareness exercise, asking questions like, where do you currently spend your money? Where do you want to spend your more money? Where do you want your energy to flow? By contrast, when you think in a scarcity mindset, you focus more on where you should restrict yourself. When you put together a budget, you're setting a limit as to what you can spend. You're limiting the amount of energy that you want to invest in that area. So I continued to sketch things out, things that fell above and below the line. I wrote down secured and unsecured, which is important to us lenders. I listed instruments that evoke an abundance mindset, like bank accounts, retirement savings, real estate, insurance, stock, and charity, versus instruments that emanate scarcity, like debt, bills, expenses, and taxes. I really tried to isolate things into a save first or a spend first frame of mind. But then after I had this all sketched out, I stepped back and took another look at it. I didn't want to get lost in characterizing things above the line as good and the things below the line as bad, especially since most financial pictures can kind of ebb and flow above and below the line. What it really comes down to is whether you have control over your situation. And it's not necessarily positive or negative. It comes down to whether you have a proactive or a reactive mindset. Because the goal isn't more money. The goal is living life on your terms. So rather than focus on save first or spend first, I thought about it in terms of timing. It's really spend now or spend later, and it's really money earned versus yet to earn. There are plenty of people out there yet to earn the money that they have already spent or plan to spend in the future, but I wouldn't categorize their situation negatively. The first people that come to mind are newly minted graduates that have yet to pay a dime towards their student loan debt. Milton Friedman introduced a theory called the permanent income hypothesis, which looks at the total amount of lifetime income and spending a person will engage in. If you can come up with a general idea of how much you might earn and spend over time, financial planning essentially comes down to timing or a cash flow equation. And the key is to plan with a proactive mindset, regardless of whether you're spending now or later with money already earned or yet to earn. It's about balancing energy over your lifetime. So how do you get what you want? Or a better way to put it is, how do you develop a positive energy relationship with money? Well, it's imperative that you know what it is that you want. And you need to know yourself by understanding your innate money patterns. And then put together a plan, whether you're educating yourself or working with a financial planner. And remember, don't let the mixed signals fool you. If you choose not to be proactive, indecision is a decision. So the earlier you put together a plan, the quicker you will adopt a proactive, positive energy relationship with money and put yourself in a better position to live a life full of abundance. What questions do you have for me? Like I said, when it's a one-fits-one methodology, there's tons of institutions out there. My wife works for Embry Jones, and their models work very well for most people. But when you see somebody come up and speak and they basically tell you how to invest and they've never met you, they know nothing about your background, that's more of a, talking to you about investing. It's not talking with you.
That's back to the run from them, kind of.
Yeah, and there's not enough people that sit down and ask you the questions about what you want your money to do. Most institutions are set up for accumulation strategies so that you're going to take your money and get as much money as you possibly can in their bank so that they hold the money and can make more money on it. And then maybe someday you can spend it. But it's much more about taking the time to say, where do you want your money to flow? What kind of things do you want to do in your life? Stephen?
Yeah,
The unfortunate thing that most people don't understand is that when you're confronted with an inheritance or a lottery winning, that amount of energy that is submitted into your life is overwhelming. People don't know how to flow that in the right way. I know people that will get an inheritance and they don't want it. They don't know what to do with it, and sometimes you just spend it crazily on material things. And so part of preparing for that type of thing, lottery winnings I don't know that you can prepare for, but inheritance is a big part of planning, that you have to get people all in the same room and you have to talk with people who are leaving that money and make sure that their wishes line up with the people that are receiving that money. Because there's a lot of people that'll tell their parents, oh yeah, we're going to spend this way and this way, and then they kick the bucket and they go blow it on whatever they want. So it's just a matter of understanding that the money does have an energy, and it needs to flow in the right way, because if you don't account for that, all bets are off. I think when you're talking from an energy standpoint that you want to give yourself more positive influence over the places that you want your money to flow to. And that's one of the reasons that we talk about where do you want your money to go, not where do you want to restrict yourself. Because if all your focus is on restricting yourself, it automatically creates a mentality that says, I can't do this, I can't do that, and your entire being kind of minimizes. Whereas if you start getting excited about where you can make more money and build more, you get yourself internally motivated to work harder, and you get to spend more things. And you say, I'm going on vacations, and that's my reward. It's psychologically, it's much more beneficial, and it's much more motivating for people to work harder. Whereas if you just go to somebody and you say, we're going to set a budget, and you cannot spend any more money on restaurants. And you go, well, I kind of wanted to go out to a restaurant. And so it's just self-defeating almost. So.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.